Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Well, I am back at the mic after a gorgeous weekend here in the Holy Land of Israel. And guess what, everybody? I am so excited. A little, maybe scared too, but I'm really excited because I want to invite you all to sign up and come on a tour to Israel. It's going to happen this coming March. It's called the 2020 Vision Israel Tour. It's a trip to Israel. I'm going to be on this trip. I'm going to be on the bus with you. I'm going to be in the hotel with you. I'm going to be on the tours with you. And so are other people that you're going to want to meet, as well as some of our show hosts here at Israel News Talk Radio as well. This is going to be something very exciting. It's also, if we get a lot of people, it's going to help support Israel News Talk Radio because we are sponsoring this, and we're looking at ways where we can connect with our listeners, be able to fundraise for the station at the same time, and just have a marvelous life experience. If you've been putting off visiting Israel, or you want a different type of tour than just the Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa tour, if you really want to meet people on the ground, go to places that a lot of tourists don't go to, and to go with people that hear from the radio, then you're going to want to join this tour. The link is on our Facebook page, and we're going to be putting it up also where this show is podcasted. So you're going to want to join us on that tour. I'm really, really excited. This is the first time I'm doing something like this. I hope I'm up to it. Okay. Also, I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened to me on the Shavuot holiday that I briefly mentioned last week that didn't have enough time to talk about it. And then we're going to be talking about a Muslim IDF soldier. What's that about? That should be interesting. We'll be talking about that. And Chiffre Hoffman will be joining us as usual. So join us in the chat room as well. It's the orange button on our player. It's the closest you can get to being in the studio with me. Come on in. We'll be right back.
Always challenging the status quo. Hello, I'm Rod Bryant on Beyond the Matrix here at IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. I want to encourage you to listen each week, every Wednesday at the same time, for an amazing show that will challenge you, inform you, and inspire. News, views, and wisdom for the nations here on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com. Don't forget, Beyond the Matrix every week, Wednesday, here on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
We are back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on Israel News Talk Radio. And I don't really hear myself in my earphones. Just want to make sure that I'm broadcasting live. Okay, I am. Very good. Okay. Join me in the chat room. It's so much fun to be able to see all of you there. And I want to say hi to Frank from Holland, and Motek from the Pacific Northwest, and Nathan from Australia. And the no shush Todd, I think, is Larry. So Larry, come in under your real name. We love you. We love you, Larry. The Donald is with us, and I don't even know what this other thing is. And Yuval from Israel, and Akiva. Shalom, Akiva. It's great to see you. You're new here, it looks like. Anyway, join me in the chat room. It's so much fun. I want to tell you about something that I'm doing for the very first time in my whole life, and that is going on a guided tour here in Israel as a sponsor also. And I've never done this before, but we are going to be riding the buses up and down Israel, going to places that are not the regular scene where tourists go when they're in Israel. You go to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa. We'll be going to Jerusalem, but we'll be going to the Sea of Galilee up in the north. We'll be going to Masada and the Dead Sea. We'll be going to Sderot to see where the rockets come and hit. You'll be seeing Gaza. We're going to be taking you on the Golan Heights where you can view Syria and the Lebanese border as well. It is a jam-packed tour, and you are going to remember this tour for the rest of your life. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be special. And you will be meeting some of the staff here at INTR, at Israel News Talk Radio. I am really, really, really excited about it. And I really want to urge you to sign up, because when you sign up, it also helps the station. This is the first time I'm doing this. I want to see how many people are going to be coming, how many, if we can pack the bus or pack even 2 buses to see if this is going to be something that we will continue to do. So, especially if you come this time, it may be the only time. So it'll really be special. All right. So I want you to go to the webpage. I really actually should have put this up on the website, but I will put it where the show is podcasted, the link to go. I also put it in our chat room, the link. And you can go there and you can sign up for the tour. You want to do so because we do only have a specific amount that we can take, and I want to take the maximum because I want it to help the station. I want it to build so we can grow and serve you even better. The 2020 Vision Tour, it's called the 2020 because it's going to take place in March of 2020. We're talking about around 8 months away from now. You need to plan. I know you need to plan when you're going overseas. And by the way, if you're in Israel, you can go on this tour with us as well, because it does not include the airfare. So if you're already here, it's no problem. You're not paying for airfare. You're already here, and you can go on the tour with us as well. It's called the 2020 Vision Israel Tour, and it is advertised thus: bypass the fake news and view Israel with perfect clarity. The Australian Jewish Association, in conjunction with Israel News Talk Radio, brings to you an Israel experience like no other. The 2020 Vision Israel Tour will connect you with both ancient and modern military history, security strategies, and common sense politics within the miracle that is the Jewish homeland. The tour highlights Israel's past, present, and future by uniquely connecting people with the realities on the ground. So go there, sign up. The link is in our chat room. It is also, I'm going to put it again in the chat room right now. Come into the chat room. It is the orange button on our player. I just posted it there. Go and check it out. It's got an amazing itinerary. I'm going to go through, how much time do I have? I'm going to go through a little bit of it. Let me just look really quick. I'm not going to go through every single day, but you'll be able to find that on when you go to our page where the tour is advertised. We're going to be you're going to be greeted at Ben Gurion Airport or at a hotel in the area there. You are going to be taken to Independence Hall. You're going to visit the Palmach Museum. The Palmach, for anybody who doesn't know, was one of the military movements before we had a state of Israel in order to protect the Jewish people from Arab onslaught. And then we're going to be going to the beautiful and holy city of Tiberias, or in Hebrew, Tiberia. And then we're going to be staying at the Royal Plaza Hotel in Tiberias. It's going to be very, very nice places to sleep and good food, because Israel has amazing food, by the way, and spectacular company. We're going to see the Kinneret, which is the Sea of Galilee. We're going to be going and seeing the border of Syria and a battle that was fought there during the 6-Day War. If you're there And they're still fighting on the Syrian border there. You're going to hear explosions and bombings and things like that, too, because that is still going on in Syria right now. You are going to go to wine distilleries, and you can actually even purchase, if you want to bring back a bottle or two or three of wine with you back to your home, you can do so. We're going to be walking amidst old Syrian bunkers and an abandoned Syrian military control center up north at Mitzpeh Gadot. And this is stuff you're not going to get on a regular tour to Israel. This is going to be stuff that you're going to have information. When you go back home, you will be invited out to dinner to your friends. Everyone's going to want to hear about your trip. And you're going to be going to the Golan Heights there. As I said, you'll see the Lebanese border. I'm skipping through really quickly. You know what I'll do? Several times on my show in the coming weeks, I'm going to be giving you more and more information. I want to stop here and just say I would love to have you sign up for the tour. It's this March, between March 17th and the 25th. Go there. The link is in the chat room, and we will have it on the podcast. Go and check it out and join me. Meet me. I would love to meet you as well. All right. I want to talk to you about something else with the little time I have left. Oh, I don't even have a lot of time. I'm so upset I don't have a lot of time. I only have 4 minutes. I wanted to talk to you about something that happened to us just prior to the Shavuot holiday last weekend. Not this last one, but the one before. I've always tried to be prepared for emergencies. I've done shows on what to do if there's an emergency, if there's an earthquake or a disaster or war or whatever it is, how to have a bug-out bag, what to put in your bug-out bag, the food that you need to keep, where you can keep it, all sorts of experts that I've invited on the show throughout the years to give you this information as well, because we never know when an emergency might happen. And I want to say to you, I thought that I was prepared. I have a bug-out bag with my passports and my birth certificates because, you know, if anything happens and you need to prove who you are, or you need to replace these documents because they got lost somehow, you're talking about days and days of going back and forth to offices, waiting in lines, bureaucracy, waiting to get things. All sorts of things can happen. And you want to have these papers with you to make your life so much easier. And also to be able to flee if you need to. You have identification. You have passports. You have, not that I'm going to flee Israel, but I'm just saying that these are good identification papers, etc. So I thought that I'm prepared. I have a little bit of water, not much. I have a couple of cases of water put aside and some cookies and biscuits and maybe some cans of baked beans and tuna, just for emergency, for 3 days worth, 2 days worth even. Well, it happened just prior to the holiday that a neighbor's house right near me was on fire. It happened at night. It happened late at night. Not when everyone was sleeping, but maybe like 9, 10 o'clock at night, 11. I don't remember exactly when. It was horrifying to see your neighbor's house on fire and all of the flames and the sparks and the little debris that's on fire that's floating in the air because there's wind was going right towards my house. And as I'm saying a prayer for my neighbor and I'm seeing how close it is to me, but I'm praying for them, I just didn't think, houses here in Israel, at least in the Jerusalem area, they're made from stone. It's harder to catch fire than a wooden house. And I was just praying for my neighbors that they're all right. Please, God. I didn't know if everybody got out or not. It was a terrible fire. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to warn you now, if you're driving, don't get scared what I'm going to do. But this is what I hear. And I hear them yelling at me in Hebrew, evacuate, evacuate. And I had the fire department and the security of the neighborhood banging on my door. They didn't do it nicely, folks. They did it banging. It scares a person, when something like this happens. And they yell, get out now. And I screamed at them and I said, I have a baby in the house because my daughter was here with her baby. And we had to go and wake him up and get him out. And you're thinking, I have to get out now. The security is right at my door. They're not going to let me go and take all of the things I want to take. And I'm thinking, bug out bag. Where's my bug out bag? I didn't know where my bug out bag was. Can you imagine? I know it sounds terribly silly, but I thought that maybe I put it here or maybe I put it there. It would be one of two places, but I didn't even have time. You don't have time. You have to understand you don't have time. And why am I telling you all this? Because I want to warn you in the diaspora. Anti-Semitism is growing, and it can happen at any time where you think you'll see the signs and you'll be able to get out, but you won't be able to maybe. Because look at our brothers and sisters during the Holocaust in Europe. They wanted to get out. They wanted to get out of Europe. They couldn't. It happens too fast. Think about that. When we get back, we're going to be talking about an IDF soldier who's Muslim.
Shalom, everybody. Making a difference often takes just one moment and one person at a time. I am Orly Benny Davis, your show host on Israel News Talk Radios from Jerusalem with Love. You'll be hearing people talking about politics, religion, social issues, and making a better tomorrow. Join me, Orly Benny Davis, for God and Country. From Jerusalem with Love.
Wednesdays on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we are back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on Israel News Talk Radio. And there's a very interesting article that came out on ynetnews.com. It's called The Secret Life of the Elite Muslim IDF Soldier. And they're talking about Private A. Maybe his name's Abdullah, whatever. But Private A, they say, does not believe in talking politics with his brothers in arms in the Golani Brigade that he serves in, and his extended family thinks that he's studying in Europe. But he says, it's such a good feeling to see that I make people feel safe when I carry my weapon on the train or at the bus station. I'm not going to read this article because I don't have enough time, but I'm going to tell you that he basically says that he is an Israeli citizen. He wants to protect the country. He cannot tell his extended family about what he's doing. Only his parents know, and he cannot go home. He has to live in an apartment in Netanya with other IDF soldiers who don't have families here, and they're called lone soldiers. And his mother comes to visit him at the apartment there instead of him going to Beersheba where he lives. And he talks about the struggles, but he says no one has ever said a bad word to him. They don't even joke about him being Arab and being Muslim. He's very much accepted and he's very happy. And this is basically what is going on. So here to tell you more about it, because I'm sure that our guest has an opinion on this, we have joining us Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem. He is a researcher, former lecturer at Ben-Gurion University, and he commentates on Mideast and world issues. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on. So I asked you before the show, what did you want to talk about today? And you had suggested this article. I thought it was very interesting. I have my opinions on it, but I want to hear yours.
Well, first of all, the first thing we need to know is that this is far from strange. There have been, since the founding of the state and even before it, there have been many Arabs of different types, including Arab Muslims, including Arab Christians, including Christians who are non-Arabs, and et cetera, of all the various types of minorities that we have here in the country. Many of them have served in the IDF for forever. I mean, we've had senior officers who were of the minority. So there's nothing all that out of the ordinary of this, except for the fact that it was a reasonably well-written article.
It was a well-written article. It was very interesting. And again, if people want to go check it out, they can do so. It's on ynetnews.com. But do you see a problem with Arab Muslim soldiers in the IDF?
Not really. Remember a few things here. On the one hand, those who want to see a problem can say, well, we're giving these people training and they can somehow later on turn against it.
Exactly.
But that has never happened. There's never been a case like that.
There's always a first time.
What really happens is that the people who volunteer for this kind of this kind of service really do volunteer. They really do desire to protect their own country. And there are many, many Bedouin tractors. I've served in the army with several Bedouin tractors who are lovely people.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that they are lovely people.
Job.
Yes, I'm sure that they are lovely people, and we should treat them with respect and courtesy and friendship. Absolutely. I'm going to play devil's advocate today on the show, okay? And I'm going to tell you why I don't think it is wise to take Arab, Muslim men into combat units where they carry a gun and they get this training. I'm going to tell you why. Even if they are true blue, they love Israel. In fact, they are sacrificing their family's love and reputation and acceptance, etc., by doing it. I would say, yes, let them serve as IDF soldiers, but not in any type of capacity where somehow, some way, they can maybe turn. And let me give you an example. It could be this guy in the article is saying how he's accepted by everybody. No one's ever said a bad word to him at all. But what happens if you get some dummy in there who is prejudiced and he starts to call him names and gets him angry? And, you know, I mean, not every Arab, but lots of Arabs have tempers. You know, kind of see that. It's kind of cultural.
It's a question, and I'll tell you from my personal experience, what happens in such a case.
Okay, what happens?
What happens in such a case is that everyone pushes the Arabs aside and smashes the face of the idiot who opens his mouth not in turn, because he's our brother in arms, and we stick up for our brothers. And if somebody is that stupid, they deserve to get educated.
Okay, and you know what? I would agree with you because I believe in treating everybody with respect because we are all brothers and sisters, whether you're Jewish or Muslim or Christian or Buddhist or whatever it is. You're a human being. We all have the same father, Adam and Eve, and before that Noah, and we're all brothers and sisters, and everybody should be treated with respect and with kindness, everybody. But I want to bring up something here. When you have someone who comes from an enemy nation, there's problems there of security. And I can tell you that when I was in the Army, there were certain jobs that I didn't pass enough security clearance in order to get. And they put me in the capacity to work where they felt that it was safe for the state of Israel. I came from the United States of America. They didn't know who my friends were back there. They didn't know who my family were back there. They know I'm a good person. They know that I'm a Zionist, etc. I'm here in Israel. But there were certain security clearances that I could not pass. And I would say that someone who is serving from an enemy nation, even if he's clean, 100% pro-Israel, is willing to sacrifice his life for us, what would happen if someone else in his family or neighborhood community found out that he is there and they want to use him as a pawn and they kidnap his sister, or they say they're going to kill his mother and father, or whatever they're going to do, unless he gives them information or steals a gun or steals weapons or starts shooting up and makes a terror attack in the name of Allah. And what is a guy, I mean, this is a horrible situation to put him in. And this is where I would worry about security clearance. What do you have to say?
Well, I think you're totally going overboard. A frontline soldier is not a security issue. If he was entrusted with things that demanded a high security clearance, then there might be something to what you're saying, but that's not what we're talking about here. You're simply totally off track. I mean, that's not the way it works.
Well, but it's a possibility, isn't it?
No, it's not a possibility.
If you had someone if you had an Israeli who was serving in the Syrian army or the Iranian army, you wouldn't want to use him as somebody who, look, he's already in. He's like an easy infiltration because you didn't even have to groom him for it and get him in there. He's already in there. Let's just, threaten him with whatever his currency is that he's going to, whatever, and you're going to get information from him or whatever.
That's not what a combat soldier does. A combat soldier doesn't have access to the significant information that you're talking about.
But he could get a gun. He can give him his gun.
It's an irrelevant issue.
He can say, I lost my gun, and the gun goes to the terrorists. He can say, I lost my grenades. It went to the terrorists.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You can't. Nobody in a combat position simply says, I lost my gun. You go to jail if you lose your gun.
Right. But he would prefer to go to jail for whatever it is, 2 months, 8 months, whatever the sentence is for losing your gun.
You're totally off track.
Whatever.
You're totally off track.
In order to save the life of his mom or his sister or whatever it is.
No. You're totally off track. As I said, I've served with Bedouin Arabs, and I've served with other types of Muslims. They were fine. There was no issue like that. There has never been an issue like that in the history of the country. This is just it just doesn't work like that. There might be an issue like that, for instance, if we're talking about a Muslim Arab working for a high-tech company in the security industries. That could possibly happen, but not in the IDF.
Okay, so
in terms of the Army, you're just totally off track. It just doesn't work that way at all.
Okay, I hear you, and I could be wrong. I would just be very cautious, and I would tell them, yes, you can serve in the IDF, but it's going to be in a different capacity, not where you have a gun, not where you have weapons. But we welcome you to come in and to volunteer for the country and to do good, and even train him in something that he can use after he leaves the Army.
There are many soldiers that serve in non-combat positions, also of both Jews and minorities, so that happens as well. And to serve in a combat position, first of all, to serve in the IDF, a Muslim needs to volunteer; they're not conscripted.
Right.
And secondly, if he wants to go into a combat unit, he has to volunteer a second time. So I imagine that there is some sort of screening involved here, but the kinds of dangers that you're talking about are much more prevalent in the security industries and defensive industries than they are in the IDF. The IDF just doesn't have this problem because in a combat position, you're never in a situation where you have significant information unless you get to a very high rank, and by that time, so somebody's gone through all the years of service to get to a high rank, then they're a very well-known quantity.
All right.
So what you're asking essentially is it's a non-issue. It's not an issue in terms of the IDF. It could be an issue in terms of industry.
All right. So I say from your mouth to God's ears, I think it's wonderful that he's wanting to serve, that he supports Israel, and it should be more and more of our Arab citizens, Israeli citizens that are here. And I just wanted to play devil's advocate just to, bring up another side there that's to consider. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Mordechai Ben-Menachem.
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
This is Shai Ben-Tekoa, and each week I'll be webcasting to you from Judea, origin of the word Jew, a people besieged and beleaguered in every generation. Nazi Germany's but a memory, but in its place the world invented the phantom Palestinians as this generation's internationally authorized Jew killers. Tune in for a different slant on life in Israel, Phantom Nation, every Monday.
Hi, I'm Rabbi David Aaron. The soul basics are the most profound, the most essential, and yet often the most neglected in our education. Join me for Soul Talk on Israel's News Talk Radio and discover the secrets to love, spiritual growth, and personal power.
We are back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on Israel News Talk Radio, and our next guest is Chiffre Hoffman for our Jewish activism segment. Chiffre Hoffman is the founder of victimsofArabTerror.org, and she's the director of Shuva.net. Welcome to the show, Chiffre Hoffman.
Thank you, Tamar. I feel very welcome here. One program, at least, that we know the truth and sanity will prevail in this otherwise crazy world. I'd like to open, as I always do, to thank the Almighty God that He doesn't lose patience with us, and He still gives us the opportunity to be sovereign in our one country. And I think that everybody should try to pray and thank Him, especially the Jewish people, that we don't have to be at the mercy of all the nations who, it seems, one Holocaust for them is not enough. And, of course, there's a prayer that we say, at least those of us who pray, to thank God for being merciful to the Jewish people. I want to open by saying that the politicians will never save Israel. In fact, they're the problem and not the solution. Just last week, they published what I wrote in the Jerusalem Post. It was an answer to Ambassador Friedman. He is the United States ambassador to Israel, and he identifies himself as an Orthodox Jew. Aside from the fact that he attended the last feast that they made for Ramadan, which is a Muslim country, and that's disgraceful that a Jew should go and give honor to another faith. It's absolutely forbidden by the Torah, but I don't want to talk about that now. I'm talking about what he said. He said that it seems to him that the Judea and Samaria, which they call the West Bank, the heart of Israel, at least he said some of it should belong to Israel. And I really freaked out. What is this some of it? The Almighty God of Israel gave the whole land of Israel to the Jewish people. Not some of it, not a quarter, not a half of it, all of it. So who is Ambassador Friedman to say, I think, at least some of it? And that is so telling that they don't know on what grounds we are here. Why is Israel here? Why should the land belong to the Jews and not to Arabs or anybody else? Because God Almighty, who is the ruler of the world, gave us this land. And it's ridiculous, as I wrote in the printed article, or the letter that I sent in that they published, it's not only foolish, it's disingenuous to say that part of it is ours. It's all ours. We don't make claim to any other land, and certainly we pay the price for it in crusades, pogroms, inquisitions, and the unspeakable Holocaust, which is growing every day more for those who one Holocaust was not enough.
Right, and I think it's important to also say, a lot of people, they want to say terrible things about Israel and the Jewish people, saying that we're colonialists, etc. But we have in the Bible, in the Tanakh, delineated borders of Eretz Israel. Nowhere in the Tanakh does it say that Israel is supposed to take over the whole world and take everyone's land, like you see with the Islamic Caliphate, that they want to conquer the world, like you see with the Church, the Church of Rome wanting to take over the world, the New World, etc. And the Jewish people are here in our homeland that God gave to us. So
right, and you know what I say, Tamar? To one of my articles, you can Google it. God always wins. Don't fight with God. Blessed is He always wins. And He knows to whom this belongs. By the way, it's also really very sickening to see Jews who are doubtful whether it's our land or not, or that they don't want to come here because they're afraid of the terror. Meanwhile, the anti-Semitism is growing at leaps and bounds. I want to address that situation as well. Why is the priority for Jews today, when they are threatened all over the world with constant attacks? Some of them are murdered, some of them are wounded, fire bombs, all kinds of horrible things. Why don't they come to Israel? Because their leaders don't come. Somebody who has research should look up in Florida and see how many rabbis retired in Florida instead of coming home to Israel. And if the leaders don't come, why the people feel, why should I go? Don't listen to your so-called leaders because they're leading you into a horrible situation. You should be the leaders. Pick up, pack up, and come home now, because as it says in the Bible, eyes they have and see not, ears they have and hear not. You don't want to see the truth? God forbid, you'll have to pay the price.
This is so true, Chiffre. And, I was talking about this before in the show, that during the Holocaust, the Jews wanted to get out. They wanted to flee Europe, and they couldn't. People always think, well, I'll see the signs beforehand. I'll get a ticket. I'm ready. Sometimes the doors just close, boom, and that's it. The train has left the station. There's nothing you can do.
Absolutely. But, I say when people say, after all, how could they know what happened during the Holocaust? It was unprecedented. Okay, I can agree with that. Nobody in their right mind would think that human beings could think about Cyclone B gas or put dudes in the ovens, and others as well. But today we know it happened. We have Holocaust museums, which I don't need a Holocaust museum. The only thing to commemorate the Holocaust is for Jews to live in Israel, in a strong and defensible Israel. So I wanted to segue into the other situation about the IDF. I'm very proud of my army. I'm proud. I thank God that we have an army. The leaders, even the people in the army brass, why do they have to wait until there's an attack and they don't act? They react. If they firebomb, then they go in and they shoot here and there. Why don't you get them out once and for all and teach them a lesson that you cannot start attacks? That's what an army is supposed to do. And I'm afraid that our army has become like hand-tied. They're afraid to move, or they don't get their marching orders. And Bibi is more concerned with being elected than protecting the people, our citizens of Israel. I urge Jews, don't look at the internet, don't look at certainly not the New York Times. If you want to know what's really happening, open the Tanakh, look at the Chumash, the Bible. It'll tell you that God Almighty, not because we deserve it, but because of His holy name, He is going to help Israel fight the last battle. The last battle will be the worst of all, Gog and Magog. But you have a chance now to be on Israel's side. If you remain in the exile, don't complain, as I've said many times. Remain, don't complain. Come now, or it's too late.
Amen. And it's so important to get this message out because things are heating up all over the world. Even you would think, oh, well, it's only in the bad parts of town with, bad people, but it's not. It's on the university campuses where the academics are, where the elite are.
Because, anyone who has children, and God willing, we should all have children, if you're going to threaten to punish them when they do something wrong and you don't do it, or you just give them a slap on the wrist, they're going to try to do something worse. And this is what's happening. Israel had an image of strength. We won the wars with God's help in 67 and 72, and a Yom Kippur War was a miracle of all of the wars, but we didn't learn a lesson. Now they only want to reform the terrorists and give them benefits. You know what? You should come with me to visit the families of the victims and see what they suffer after their loved ones were murdered or wounded by Arab terrorists. We'll see how liberal you are. It's very fine of you to sit in the exile and say, oh, I think Arabs should have this and that, the other thing. If you want that, take them over to your house. Give them a couple of rooms to live in and see how long that lasts.
All right. Chiffre Hoffman, words of wisdom. Do you want to tell people where they can contact you?
Yes, I'm thankful that some of them do. It's my website is victimsofarabterror.org, and you can write to Hoffman Chiffre, Hoffman, Schifra, @gmail.com. And also, please, if you have a Jewish heart, do something for the victims who get very little money. They take them to court, and the prosecutors usually win for the Arab terrorists. But they need help. They need help for necessities and for things that you and I need to go on with life. Please send what you can to VAT, V-A-T, Victims of Arab Terror, P.O. Box 32103, Jerusalem. P.O. Box 32103, Jerusalem. As I've said before, you will never miss what you give as much as these families miss their loved ones.
Thank you, Chiffre Hoffman, for coming on the show. God bless you.
Me too. Bye-bye.
And we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank all of you for being with us. I want to say again, I want to reiterate this. Don't be smart. Don't think that you're going to be able to gauge the time and you're going to be able to control history. When something happens, it can happen in a moment. And I learned this, I was reminded of this yet again, just over a week ago when there was a fire of my neighbor's house and our house was right in the path of the fire and we were forcefully evacuated from our home and I couldn't even think I didn't even have time to think where my bug out bag was. I knew it'd probably be in 2 places, but I didn't even have time to do it. What would happen if all of a sudden something happened, an attack somewhere near your city or someplace national, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, boom, the airports are closed. There are roadblocks. You can't leave. There's a security situation. You don't know what's going to happen. And don't think and say, oh, that's not going to happen, because it already did happen. 9/11, all of a sudden, people could not fly. Everything was grounded. What would happen if it comes again, something terrible like this, and you can't get out? And it's not only for 1 or 2 or 3 days, because in those 1 or 2 or 3 days, other terrible things can happen. We saw that the Jews in Europe wanted to get out for the Holocaust. They couldn't. They thought they would be able to gauge what's happening. Oh, well, Hitler won't reach us yet. We still have time. We don't have time. Come now when you can come at leisure with all of the riches that you have. Sell your home, have the time to do this, shop, come with happiness, and go back and visit in the summers. Think about it. Thank you, everybody, for being with us.
Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. Just click the orange button at the top of the IsraelNewsTalkRadio.home page, log in as yourself or an anonymous guest, and join in on the fun. You'll meet other listeners from all over the world who listen to Israel News Talk Radio, and you can make new friends. Israel News Talk Radio's chat room. It's the closest you can get to being in the studio with us.
We love listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Where can you get the inside news on Israel? At Israel News Talk Radio, we're dedicated to sharing Israel's inside story with the world by providing our listeners with news on Israeli politics, current affairs, and Israeli Jewish culture. The Israel News Talk Radio homepage also provides you, the listener, with useful information at your fingertips, with scrolling news headlines, weather, currency exchange, Shabbat candlelighting times, and so much more. Our radio programming is always accessible and on demand. We operate absolutely free of charge for everyone, everywhere. If you love what we do, partner with us now by becoming an Israel News Talk Radio supporter. With your support, you'll be inscribed on our Israel News Talk Radio Wall of Fame. There's nothing like us in the world. Be part of something great. Israel News Talk Radio. Straight talk from Israel.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.